My name's Dr. Anthony Nocella in the Department of Criminal Justice at Salt Lake Community College, and this is the 7th annual Utah Winter Lowrider Bicycle Show, one of the only ones in the whole country that I know of that's a bicycle-specific show for youth. And Mel has been involved since day one. Mel Garcia, one of the OGs and leaders, as well as mentors to many people in the lowrider community. He's got 2 amazing cars, and he'll talk about that in a little bit. But we also have around us Salt Lake Community College criminal justice students. So thanks so much for everyone coming. And I'm going to begin just kind of asking a few questions to Mel, and then kind of opening up to you all if you have any. So Mel, I know this is a big question, but in your opinion, what are some fundamentals in being in a lowrider community? What are some typical elements and foundational cultural elements in a lowrider community, in your opinion?
I think it's the history of lowriding is family orientated, and it's a generation. And it starts from uncles, brothers, fathers, grandparents, and I think what happens is the younger generation ends up carrying the legacy of their, mentor, which could be their brother, their dad, or their grandpa. So a lot of that is what you're seeing here today, is a lot of these younger kids that grew up, now their kids, they're building bikes with their kids. So that's the generation of lowriding.
Wonderful. So if we can, we'll go to youth and then we'll go back to the culture. And so why is it that you as a lowrider, and that's how we identify, people in the lowrider community as lowriders. And so you as a lowrider, why were you so involved and still are involved in supporting youth and trying to keep them out of incarceration, away from gangs? Like, when did you get involved? Like, was there a book you read, a movie you saw, somebody told you? Like, what was it that you wanted to protect and support youth?
Well, I think growing up and starting in 1976, I was building lowrider bikes with friends, family members, and growing up and stuff, we are all, introduced to the different culture of lowriding, and also you're growing up in a different neighborhoods, you go to different schools, there's different things going on through those communities where you grow up at, and some people take the wrong roads, as a lot of times I've taken that wrong road. So my biggest thing was to come back and work with the youth. And so me and Pastor Alfred, who I was a member and still attend Life Church, we decided to start working with the youth at risk. We brought the lowrider barbecues to Utah and started turning them into a unity. So we targeted the youth because we wanted them to have a better look in life and see something more positive in what we like to do with our passion. So I donated a lot of things to the community through our car club. I volunteered my time with the youth at risk for 10.5 years. And I continue to do things, special projects, as well as when we got involved with you. And Firme Image Car Club was very well known in the community to be out there doing outreaches for these type of situations.
Can you talk about outreaches? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you do to help the community? I know, but if you could talk about everything from the food to, fun night, family nights at the bowling, if you can kind of talk about
Well, what we started out with was barbecues and bringing them to the parks. And one of the things we do is we set up a van, we painted it, put murals on it. Pastor Alfred would come out and do fun things with the kids, play games, educate them in awareness, and it just went on and built up bigger and bigger from there. As all the car clubs starting to unite, and there was probably only about 6 car clubs back then that actually started really organizing. Firme Image was one of the ones, and so when we started all coming together and all the car clubs starting to grow and grow, because we've grown now to about 38 car clubs, probably more. That's just what the Utah Council right now, the Utah Lowrider Council has, I think, invites up to 38 car clubs. Though we were uh, starting that back in early 2000, 1999 is when we started doing the barbecues and bringing youth together, showing them better things to do with their time, trying to target a lot of the teenagers and bring them out of the gang life and give them more of a positive outlook.
For sure. So, any questions for you yet? Yeah, Tim, if you could speak real loud out, and then I'll repeat your question.
Can you describe your first lowrider build? What drove you to work on that particular build, and if it's possible, where is it now?
My first car?
Yes, sir.
So I'll say it back just because we're on the mic. The student asked, "What was your first build? What was it like, and where is it today?" So, what was the first build? What was it like, and then where is it today?
My first car was a 1969 Grand Prix Pontiac. It was apple red with a black vinyl. It was handed down to me from my uncle, and so I really didn't do a lot of build on it. It was handed to me, so it was kind of my first cruising car. It had true spokes on it, and I got to cruise it around and ended up inheriting it. Never ended up selling the car, so I really didn't participate in shows other than just cruising.
So, one of the big questions that I always get okay, you have one. So, I'll ask this one and then I'll go. One of the big questions that we always get is people come to these lowrider shows that they're not lowriders and they say, if you can't ride the bicycle, or like, what's the point of the bicycle? And then if you got this fancy car that's all chromed out and you only ride it or drive it around like 4 times a year, what's the point? So if you could kind of speak to that and how that is an art form and trying to keep youth out of incarceration too.
Those are rumors.
Yes.
We cruise. I've always, when I built the lowrider bike in the 80s and 1979, I mean, we didn't have much to build them out of, but we cruised them. Today, I mean, ever since I owned a car, my family cars were all lowriders. The only thing I had to do was take the rims off and put the winter tires on and still cruise them low because we didn't have no way to raise them back up, so that's what we did. We just swapped out our rims in the winter. We were full-time cruisers. I've always owned a lowrider my whole life after 15, 16 years old. I've never walked in my garage and didn't have a lowrider. So those are my family cars. Those are my friends' family's cars. We go cruising together. We caravan, and we enjoyed the passion of being around each other, working to get our cars better, because when we were younger, we didn't have a lot of money. So we did whatever. I remember me and a couple of my cousins, they called us the Primer Brothers because we had no paint, but our primer was clean, our cars were clean, and we had Impalas.
So I see that, and another student asked, what is up with this Impala? Why Impala?
I think Impala is a traditional lowrider, and they're one of the first that people started putting rims on and lowering them. Okay. So the Impala has always been the lowrider dream of somebody. It doesn't matter as you see a 64 Impala, 63, all 60, whatever. And a lot of people have their own imagination, right? And I feel like the Impala was always the most popular car. I'm happy to own one, and I owned a few of them. The way I look at it is every car, until you put rims on it, then you start to see what you really have in front of you, because a lot of times that's where it sits at. You have a car, you put rims on it, and you're like, oh, okay, that's what it's supposed to look like.
Beautiful. There's a question here.
Yeah, so I just had a question about, you were talking about like the culture of like low riding and the culture around the community events that you do. I feel like there is a really big misconception, because you mentioned it's like very centered around family, but sometimes it's portrayed as different. Do you feel like that stereotype has has started to change going, like as the years go on, especially with law enforcement and outside people, or do you feel like the stereotype is kind of staying the same?
I think we're more accepted now because we got more involved with the police. They've come to our events. They've seen that car club plaques represent something different. They see families now. They see us barbecuing. We also participate, and we set up about 6 or 7 cars every year at the gang conference at the Mount America Expo. We've been doing that for years, and so I think they've taken a big look and a different look at, because a lot of these law enforcement, they know what lowriding is. A lot of them actually have family and probably have lowriders, and you're getting more people that are coming into law enforcement that recognize that this is just not what they're doing, and I think we've set the example now, because what we do is the Utah Riders, we have meetings every 3 months with all the presidents, and what we've done is we set rules for our events, and we've made them safer, and we've made them more family orientated. That's why we have the barbecues. That's why we set up where people come. Every club that I know, including Firme Image Car Club, when you come to a lowrider kickback that we're doing hosting from the Utah Riders, you're able to go in any one of them barbecue camps and eat for free, because that's what we do. We feed people. We feed families that are hanging out. We give people water, and nobody goes hungry. And we brought in just unity to the streets, and we think we're going to continue, and we think that we've set the bar really high for our standards, and we hold each other to it, and we hold accountability to each other, and definitely we've had to walk into the circle and apologize to all the clubs if we've made a mistake. So we hold each other accountable, and that's probably one of the biggest things that I think the Utah Riders are very well known for, is keeping everybody in a good group and keeping people very positive.
Yeah. And I think that's like Utah Lowriders is a large organization of many different clubs that make up thousands of people throughout this whole region, right? And he is, the president of that, right? That brings everyone together. And sometimes there's conflicts. And then he tries to de-escalate those conflicts in a very private, sometimes ideally private way, to say, hey, this is not what we appropriate. And if you go to any lowrider show, be it on the west side or at Liberty Park or Pioneer Park or downtown at 9th and 9th, which the community has been invited to many different, different festivals now, is that you'll see the youth being centered. Youth like 8 months old to 8 years old. There was a late DJ, a beautiful person that would always be DJing at all the lowrider community. He passed away recently. And he would DJ, and all the kids would get in front of his speakers, and he would let the kids dance it off. And then, and then everyone would clap and applaud these little kids dancing. And so you could see that within the lowrider community, being in San Diego and San Antonio and Denver. So centering youth is very, very important, specifically like to lowriders, but specifically also to Mel. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm wondering why the trend is lowriders. Like, how did the suspension and the style of vehicle become the trend, and why is that so important to the culture?
I think years ago, back in the 30s and 40s, where it started at is a bunch of guys in a garage messing with cars and decided to lower one, and that's where it all started at, And I think the trend follows because the technology now is that back then they'd have to lower them all the way to the ground and put rollers on the back of the frames and stuff so they can get over the bumps, right? So now the technologies came to where they put hydraulics in cars, they put air ride to lift them up, and so now they're more where they're more cruisable, where they're more comfortable. You can ride and you can lay out whatever you want. So basically, that trend comes from years ago, and it's continued to grow and grow. Uh, I mean, I don't feel like low riding itself is the only people that lower their cars. It's the hot rodders, the rockabillys. There's all types of stuff when it comes to car culture, truck. Everybody's got different builds. I mean, I've seen people lower their fronts all the way down. They're hot rodders. It just that's their thing. I mean, back in the '50s, you look at like Graffiti Nights. You seen that movie? It's all about cruising and hot rods and stuff. So that's pretty much how it growed.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. So I've got one or two more questions for you, Mel, and then we'll kind of wrap up. If you don't think of anything else, that'd be great. When it comes back to your vehicles, you've got a bomber, and then you've got the Impala, right? What are the different types of vehicles within like the names of them? So you've got a cruiser, you've got more of a bomber, you've got a hopper. Can you kind of talk about that? And then my final question the final question would be, why are we doing this? I mean, we kind of all kind of know, but we want to kind of ask him is why are we doing this? Because there's never been a lowrider show significantly, repetitively at a college or university in the United States. There's been a few in Los Angeles and California and the Bay Area, as well as a conference on lowrider studies. Why is it so important? And Gilbert, who's a friend of ours, he was here and he probably took a phone call. But Gilbert's grandson now is at Salt Lake Community College. And it was because of an event like this and then him coming, helping organize. And now I see him every other day and saying, hey, are you going to school? Hey, how's the laptop? Hey, like, are you taking classes? And so not only is this about art and a culture, but it's also about recruiting people to go back into college. So could you talk about the elements of all the different cars, and then why is it so important to locate the lowrider community and events at a college or university?
So the difference between the cars is the Impalas. First of all, low riding is traditional, 13s and 14s. That's what we cruised on. You'd have to have 520s and on a 13-inch rim or 14. The Impalas were the traditional car. All the 50s, 40s, 30s, they were bombs. Those were called bombs. That's what we called them. Those are more of a style where once you kind of went through your age as being young and building G bodies, which are Monte Carlos, Regals, Cutlasses, we call them G bodies. You had the mini trucks, you had the Euros, you had, a lot of the C10s now, step sides. They're all different, and we label them as bombs are kind of the next generation of an OG, and you see people go through their stages in cars. Younger generation starts out usually with a G body. Then they eventually get an Impala. Then basically they want a bomb now. So it kind of goes in a stage. So it just depends. A lot of the older generation, they're all cruising bombs. Them guys, even with the trucks, the lowrider trucks or the bombs, they're called bomb trucks. Anywhere from 40s to 50s are bomb trucks. But one of the things is that it just depends how much work you want to do. Impalas generally, you used to find them clean. Now you have to pick them up and you have to do full restorations on them. Just like a bomb, it takes a lot of work. There's a lot of accessories. Them bombs, you have multiple fenders and they're round, and there's a lot of body and fender, and there's a lot of hard parts to find. So It just depends how difficult you want your build to be, right? And how much money you have. So if you're willing to take the sacrifice, some of them cars take 5-6 years to build. If you have the right people in your, basically in your camp, and you're building your car, then it can be done faster. But honestly, some of these cars and some of these guys that have taken the time to build some of these showroom floor cars, it's taken them 10 years. And these guys are putting dedication. You'll see when they're out there and they finally break their cars out, you see the wife, the kids, and they're just glowing, and they're all under the car. They're polishing every part of the component of the chrome, and it's a lot of stages, a lot of effort. And you got to remember, if the dad's working full time, the mom's working full time, the kids are going to school, there's got to be a certain time put away to make time to get that car where it needs to be. So it is a lot of work.
I know you got a mic, just so I know that this
I didn't want it to interact with this one.
Okay, would it interact? Okay, then we won't do it. Or
Okay.
What do you think? Okay, so we'll try to do it. Anyway, last question: why lowrider culture and lowrider events here? It's kind of like when you see, basketball players or doctors or nurses or engineers or architects, and they're your same identity, or they're from your same community, and you say, oh, that person can do it, they look like me, or they're from that same community, I can do that. And so when you see these pictures around here, they're not just there for art. Idolina, I don't know if she's here anymore, but Idolina, Brenda, Olga, myself, Chris, Mel, Gilbert, a lot of us took pictures, and we voted on what pictures to put up. So the lowrider community can say, I feel comfortable being here, and I can see myself going to Salt Lake Community College. I'm accepted here. I'm included here. I am part of this community, and I'm not excluded. Does that make sense? So when you see pictures of yourselves, or when you see pictures of yourselves in movies or images of yourselves, you can see that career more, as a realistic goal for yourself, right? So we've had repetitively a number of people join Salt Lake Community College because of this event, as well as hop into college. So can you talk a little bit about the connection between, the lowrider community and college and education? Because I know you have a lot of grandchildren too.
I think how it all started anyway, also DJ Lamont, Dennis Montoya is a big part of us. We lost him, and his DJing drew a lot of people in to the community as well, kids and as well. I think our attachment here this is something that the lowrider community was missing. And so when we end up putting the puzzle together with you, we found that this was going to benefit a lot of people. And I think this is where we collaborated together, and now you see that it's growing, and it gives people an opportunity to actually come into a college campus and visualize that they could be going to a college like this. So the big picture is I feel like that's what we're looking at. Like, we want you to come into a college at 10, 11, 12 years old, 17 years old, and vision that, hey, I could belong to this college and go to this campus. And it puts a good thought in your head. And doing that, we were doing the lowrider bike shows at the bigger college. A lot of us went to school there when it was South High. So, for a lot of us, we walked in there and we know the halls, right? And so you're walking in there with your grandkids, your kids, and it gives them inspiration when they see that we're doing things and that we're plugged in with these type of associations. And even Anthony, he was just very inviting to the lowrider community. We took it, and here we are. Now we're doing car shows annually every year, bike shows, and we've given away a bike every year now, lowrider bike, and just trying to drive people to come and see what they have and what their future could look like. And I think it gives kids and adults even a really big opportunity. And the vision, it's not a tunnel vision anymore. It's a very clear vision. And that's what a lot of us have, worked hard for, is to bring ourselves into a better place, have better jobs, better careers. Uh, my career in construction, I've had over 33 years. And I never thought I was going to be where I'm at today. And because I'm here, I'm grateful to spread, the wisdom to other people and say, look, don't stop, keep going for what your dreams are.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. And when you walk around and you network, there's barbers here, there's owners of companies here, there's construction people here, there is photographers here, there's teachers here, there's professors here that are involved in the lowrider community. So I think that's what's, and everybody's trying to help each other out and then help their team, their kids out, their youth out, their grandchildren out. And so that's what it's all about is, when you're walking and emerging, in these halls, all over the place, you're going to see, wow, these people support each other. They know each other. It's not just about showing off what they have, but supporting and building family. So any last questions, and we'll let them close up. Okay, thanks so much, Mel.
Thank
have
you,
anything
guys.
anything else to say?
No, appreciate you guys.
Okay, thank you so much for